Good morning, everyone. I am delighted to be here. I want to thank Sister Lindo and her team for the opportunity given for Walter and myself to share with you this morning. Sister Lindo's topics and goals are the following: partnering for better relationships, and the goals to educate and share wellness tools for improved relationship with God and fellow men. It's quite a mouthful. I will be using 10 minutes to share a few wellness tools with you this morning. Please know and be encouraged. We all, including myself, need to practice wellness tools to improve relationships with all, including maybe a 3-month-old, so that they can thrive, survive, and become confident citizens. I can almost hear you asking, what wellness tools can we use when addressing a 3-month-old? Well, there's voice volume, voice tone, eye contact, and others. And a 10-year-old wellness tool might be organization. A 15-year-old wellness tool might be walking away. A tool that males find difficult to use. A wellness tool for a 22-year-old might be budgeting. For a 30-year-old, wellness tool might be encouraging that person to sleep up to 7 hours per night. And we can look at all the other age groups, the 40-year-old, the 50-year-old, the 70, 80, 90-year-old, and those mentally and physically challenged. I'm mindful that all age groups should be encouraged to practice and use daily the New Start program. So my guiding text comes from Amos 3, verse 3. Can two walk together except they be agreed? And my supporting text is Philippians 4, verse 13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so this morning, I will be focusing on 4 areas: blaming, the skill, stop, think before you act, how we affirm, and steps in walking together. So we're going to first look at that blaming tool that we use, a tool that is not Christ-like. So when we hear the story of the woman who was caught in adultery, we're filled with horror. We picture her being dragged, overpowered by a herd of men, being exposed, maybe, humiliated, definitely, crying, or we can see her being resolved that this is her execution date. As horrifying as this story is, this is the way we are most comfortable dealing or handling the weaknesses we see in others or the weaknesses that we see in ourselves. We feel entitled to blame. Ask Adam. Ask Sarah, Abraham's wife. And the list can go on and on. We, like the Pharisees who brought the woman caught in the very act of adultery, bring our friends, bring our family members and our spouses to Christ and state, here he is, there she is, caught in the very act, not getting ready for family devotion again, caught in the very act, eating meat again, dancing to worldly music again, not putting down the toilet seat again. not establishing appropriate boundaries with the children or the grandchildren again. What if we cease blaming and began using the skill stop, think before you act? A more positive tool, approach to change negative behavior. So, what does that tool look like? Let's review the story of Naaman and the servant girl. She stopped. She listened to the problem. Her master had leprosy, an illness which was a death sentence back then. We see her thinking, is there a solution? Where is the solution? She reflected, and instead of behaving like a prisoner or a slave, she became the savior for Naaman. She knew positive change was possible. She acted. You know the story well. You know the song. I know somebody who knows what's good for you. She displayed positive mindset by directing Naaman to the source of healing. I invite you to stop, think before you act, and to begin to direct your friends, your family members, yourself, your spouse to the source of healing. So the decision to drag a person to the feet of Christ or to affirm a person at the feet of Christ, it's not made in the moment of conflict. Those tools are practiced and must be displayed daily. We must make an agreement with ourselves how we will act in the event of X, Y, Z. We can drag or we can affirm. And so I can almost hear you ask, what is affirmation? Well, if we go to the dictionary, it tells us that it's the action or the process of acknowledging something or being upheld, being declared. In the social service world, a social worker, psychologist, therapist, etc., looks for the strength in a person and encourages the development of those strengths. An example, a person who has lots of friends. If we paid attention, we would notice that the strengths they displayed are great negotiation skills, their creativity skills, their win-win skills that they have, and they have a good use of voice tones when communicating with others. Once we view, observe, understand those skills, let's affirm those skills. If we looked on the spectrum of behavior, we may see a person who is quiet, maybe a little withdrawn, and we want to push them aside. But let's refocus and let's look at the skill set that they have. They may be reflective, diligent, punctual. They may know where all the bodies are buried. And they are usually excellent at remembering dates. And so we affirm those skills. So as Christians, the challenge is getting to know the skills, God's image, that we see in others. And as we interact with others, let us affirm those skills so that they can continue to develop, become confident, and become their best selves. So the question that is still floating out there is, how can two walk together unless they are agreed? I once heard that in a marriage, if both individuals are the same, then one of those people is not necessary for that marriage. So, what does it look like to walk together with Christ and others? One, there must be a connection. Two, there must be daily affirmation. How does Christ affirm you? Three, it's important to share the same values. And what are the 5 core values? Well, they're integrity, respect, responsibility, fairness, bring your best self to all competition. There's trust and intimacy. And of course, remember to use appropriate conflict resolution skills. Remember, the decision to drag a person to the feet of Jesus or to affirm a person at the feet of Jesus, it's not or ever made in the time of conflict. It's important for us to develop the skill set to affirm people as we interact with them so that they can continue to develop, thrive, and grow and become the best self that God expects them to be. And now I'd like to hand over the rest of the discussion to Elder